What is up, guys? I do hope you're well, and today we're trying something a little different. We're going with Daddy Cringe's Bedtime Stories. This is from r/nosleep, and today we have a story from Fee I Swift here. I'm assuming I got that right, apologies if I didn't. So these stories might not be for everyone, so if you are younger, you may not want to listen. The hotel I work at sells out red rooms. For the lucky few who don't know what a red room is, then let me explain. A red room is a place on the internet where murders are live streamed for the internet's wandering eyes to see. Now, I've never myself sought after proof if these live streams do in fact exist, and I personally think it's all a hoax. The idea of someone secretly live streaming a murder that is untraceable just sounds too ridiculous to be true. I'm no computer wizard or anything along those lines, but I would think that the police or even FBI would have the technology to track where these red rooms are being broadcast from. I stand behind my opinion on red rooms, that is, until I started working as a night audit for a hotel about a month ago, and the one thing that I learned from working here is that red rooms are very much a real thing, and they are not as uncommon as you might think. Let me start from the beginning. I just graduated college with a rinky-dinky bullshit degree that took too long to get, and now I have loans to pay and I needed a full-time job as soon as freaking possible. I chose to work at a hotel at a night audit, third shift, because the pay was decent, seemed fun, I'm a night owl already, and it was really the only thing available at the time. Plus I've always enjoyed working in customer service, so a hotel job seemed like a perfect fit for me. When I went in for my interview, the first thing I noticed that the hotel was beaten up to hell on the outside, but the inside was shockingly beautiful. The hardwood floors were new and shiny, the wallpaper was vibrant, and the entire space was well lit. It made me forget how awful the outside looked, and the saying goes, looks can be deceiving. And holy hell, that wasn't the case. I'll spare the back and forth chatter between the hiring manager and myself, because I obviously got the job, or I wouldn't be writing this post in the first place. After 2 weeks of grueling computer and day shift training, I was finally ready to train with the current night auditor for a few nights to finish up the final bit of grunt work and earn the greatest title of official front desk assistant. One thing I was going to have to get used to was being alone all night, since there really only needs to be one person at the front desk at a time during overnight shifts. So I was going to enjoy the company as much as I could. The job was simple enough: make sure everyone is checked in, run nightly reports, and restock everything for the morning shift. Really it was about 2 hours of work and 6 hours of standing around. Nights were already boring enough having two people doing night audit, so I was preparing myself for the many nights by my lonesome in the near future. My 4th week working at the hotel, it was finally time to start my first night shift on my own. I came well prepared with my laptop, headphones and a book. I ran through my checklist, making sure everyone was checked in, ran reports and set everything up for the next day. Now that I had about 5 hours to kill, I decided to make my rounds through the hotel, making sure that everything was in its place. I didn't want my boss catch me slacking off on my first night by myself. The owner likes to micromanage and watch the cameras at random times to make sure we are all doing our jobs. And yes, that includes 2 o'clock in the morning. One thing about the hotel I work at that it isn't big. I'd say it's about a normal sized hotel with 3 floors, but the architecture and room layout is odd. Everything runs through the lobby. And what I mean by that is that the lobby and the dining space are connected, and then it's one big hallway with elevators in the middle. There are no corners. It's just a straight shotgun house styled hotel. As I'm walking through the 3rd floor, I begin to hear muffled screaming and talking coming from one of the rooms I was walking past, which happened to be at the end of the hallway. I stopped to listen, but honestly thought nothing of it and chalked it up to television being turned up too loud. We get a lot of phone call complaints from guests about other guests next to them having their televisions turned up too high, but really it's because the walls are really thin. So I made my way back down to the front desk, preparing myself for a phone call from the guest next door to the room, but no phone call was made. I felt relieved because I really didn't want to deal with a noise complaint in the middle of the night. Those are never fun for anyone involved. I decided at this point it was time for me to bring out my laptop and watch some Netflix in the back room, but first I was going to check to see who was in the noisy room. That way we can inform them that the walls are really thin and not to have the television up that loud in the middle of the night. When I went to check the reservation, it showed that there was no one checked into that room at all, but instead that room was blocked off for maintenance. This discovery sent chills up my spine, because I knew for a fact there was definitely noise coming from that room. So I did the next logical thing and called up the room. The phone rang for a solid minute before I decided to hang up and walk to the room and check it out myself. What happened next? I wish I could forget. I slowly crept up to the room at the end of the 3rd floor and gently put my ear against the door. The sound I heard made my blood turn cold and my knees weak. It was a muffled scream again, a woman's scream to be exact. But the more I listened, I realised that she was being gagged. I could hear her cries for help try to escape her throat, but each time was stopped by whatever was blocking her airway. The sound was a mix between desperation and death. I'm not sure what death would even sound like, but if I had to describe it, it would be the exact sound from this woman's gagged screams. You know when something just absurd happens to you and you choose to make the stupid decision instead of the logical one? Well, this is exactly what I did in this situation. My first reaction was not to call the police, but instead it was to use the master room key and barge in without thinking. The smell was the first thing that hit me. The room reeked of urine, blood, vomit, and shit. I'm honestly surprised I didn't yak up my dinner all over the floor. The next thing I noticed was a naked middle-aged woman bound up by her hands and hanging from the ceiling, a sock shoved in her mouth and duct tape holding it in place. Blood and feces covered her body. The look on her face said it all. She had been here for weeks. Her eyes glazed over, cuts all over her body and face. I was so focused on her and the fear she had in her eyes that I almost didn't notice the camera in the corner of the room recording not just her, but now it was recording me. I froze in fear, knowing damn well that whoever was recording this knows who I am now. So what did I do next? I ran. I ran down the stairs, down the hall and out to my car, and drove as far away from that fucking hotel as I could. Luckily, there was no one else in that room, but I know who was ever filming their fucked up snuff film will find me eventually. I might have escaped the hotel, but I know this is far from over. I witnessed a red room in action, and there's no fucking way I'm going to get off with a free pass here. So now, I guess I just have to wait.